The champagne was expensive, Dom Perignon, $200 a bottle. The groom's mother, Victoria Ashford, had made sure everyone knew. "Only the best for my son's wedding," she announced to anyone within earshot. "Nothing but Dom Perignon," I insisted. I watched from my seat at table 7, the bride's family table, shoved in the back corner, near the kitchen doors, far from the action. My sister Emma, the bride, sat at the head table with her new husband, Christopher. She looked beautiful. Simple white dress, elegant, understated. Nothing like the Vera Wang monstrosity Victoria had pushed for. "That dress," Victoria had whispered loudly to her sister during the ceremony. "So simple. I suppose when you're on a budget, you make do." Emma had smiled, serene, unaffected, like she always did. But I wasn't Emma. I was Maya, the maid of honor, the protective younger sister, and I was seething because Victoria Ashford and her entire wealthy family had spent the last 6 months treating my family like charity cases, like poor relatives who'd somehow tricked their golden boy into marriage. And tonight, at this wedding reception in a country club that cost $40,000, they were about to learn the truth. My name is Maya Chen. I'm 28 years old. My sister Emma is 32. And our family is about to blow the Ashfords' minds. But first, let me explain how we got here. Emma met Christopher 18 months ago. Coffee shop, meet cute. He spilled latte on her laptop, apologized profusely, offered to buy her a new one. She declined. He insisted on at least buying her coffee. She accepted. They started dating. He was sweet, genuine, kind, nothing like his family. Christopher worked in finance, investment banking, made good money, 6 figures, lived in a nice downtown condo, drove a Tesla, wore expensive suits, but he wasn't flashy about it. Didn't need to prove anything, just lived comfortably. Emma worked as a graphic designer, freelance, made decent money, $50,000 a year, maybe 60 on good years. Enough to live on, nothing extravagant. She drove a 12-year-old Honda Civic, lived in a modest apartment, shopped at Target, ate at casual restaurants. Normal middle-class life. Christopher thought that was refreshing. "Everyone I know is obsessed with showing off," he told her on their 3rd date. "You're just real." She smiled. "I believe in living simply. Money isn't everything. I love that about you." If only he knew. 3 months into dating, Christopher introduced Emma to his family. Dinner at the Ashford estate, 20-room mansion in the suburbs, gated community, staff, the works. Emma came home laughing. "They think we're poor." "What?" "The Ashfords. They think our family is poor." Victoria kept asking about my little design business like it was a lemonade stand. Christopher's father, Richard, asked if Dad was retired or just between opportunities. "Did you correct them?" "No, it was too funny. Plus, I wanted to see if Christopher loves me regardless, if he'd stand up for me." And he did. Told his mother to stop being condescending. Said he didn't care if I made minimum wage. He loves me for me. That's good. It is. So I'm not telling them yet. Let them think what they want. If Christopher's genuine, it won't matter. 6 months later, they got engaged. Christopher proposed at the same coffee shop where they met. Simple ring. Beautiful. 1 carat. Platinum band. Not huge, but perfect. Victoria's reaction? "Oh, how quaint." The wedding planning began. And so did Victoria's campaign to remake Emma into an acceptable Ashford wife. "You'll need a proper dress. I have connections at Vera Wang. They owe me a favor." "I already have a dress. I bought it for $800. It's perfect." $800? "Darling, my shoes cost more than that. Let me help you." "No, thank you, Victoria. I'm happy with my choice." Victoria's smile tightened. "Of course. Whatever you think is best. Then the venue. Victoria wanted the club. $40,000. Emma and Christopher wanted a small garden ceremony. $5,000. Victoria won. Christopher is my only son. I'm not having his wedding in someone's backyard. I'll pay the difference if cost is an issue. Christopher apologized to Emma. I'm sorry. She's impossible when she's set on something. It's okay. As long as we're married at the end, I don't care where it happens. But Victoria's generosity came with conditions. She controlled everything: the menu, the flowers, the music, the guest list. Our family got 25 seats. The Ashfords got 150. Well, you have a smaller family, Victoria explained. And, let's be honest, most of your relatives probably can't afford the trip anyway. Emma smiled. We'll see who shows up. Our entire family showed up. All 25 invitations accepted. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. Victoria seemed surprised and mildly annoyed. I didn't realize your family was so close, she said at the rehearsal dinner. We are, Dad replied. Family is important to us. How nice. And what do you do, Mr. Chen? I run a few small businesses, nothing exciting. And Mrs. Chen? Mom smiled. I help with the businesses, keep things running smoothly. How lovely. Small business owners, the backbone of America. The condescension dripped, but my parents just smiled. Because small businesses was technically true. Dad owned 12 restaurants across 3 states. Mom ran a commercial real estate company with $50 million in annual revenue. Together, they'd built a portfolio worth approximately $80 million. But they lived simply. Same house they'd bought 30 years ago. Modest cars, no flashy jewelry, no designer clothes. Just comfortable, unremarkable middle-class life. By choice. Money is a tool, not an identity, Dad always said. We don't need to prove anything to anyone. Emma had inherited that philosophy. She could have lived in a penthouse, driven a Mercedes, shopped at Neiman Marcus, but she didn't want to. She wanted to live authentically, simply. And now, at her wedding reception, she was about to show the Ashfords what authentic wealth looked like. The mocking started during cocktail hour. Victoria's sister Constance approached our table. Is that from J.C. Penney? She gestured to my mother's dress. Simple navy blue, elegant, actually from a small boutique in Paris. $1,500, but it didn't scream designer. Yes, Mom lied smoothly. Clearance section, $40. I thought so. Well, it's very nice for the price. Constance walked away. I turned to Mom. Why did you lie? Because the truth would be showing off. And we don't show off. Even when they're insulting you? Especially then, pride is a trap. We don't need validation from people like that. But the insults continued. Richard Ashford Christopher's father chatted with my Uncle James. So, James, what do you do? I work in tech. Oh, what company? A startup, you probably haven't heard of it. Try me, I invest in tech startups. Uncle James smiled. We're pretty low profile. Just a small operation. He didn't mention that his small operation had just been valued at $200 million in its Series C funding round, or that he owned 18% of it, or that his net worth was approximately $36 million. Richard nodded. Good for you. Entrepreneurship is risky, but admirable. I hope it works out. Me too, Uncle James said pleasantly. At the bar, Christopher's brother Brandon was holding court. Loud, drunk, obnoxious. My brother married down, he announced to anyone listening. Way down, her family's broke. Dad said we should take up a collection to help pay for the honeymoon. Laughter, cruel laughter. Emma's cousin Lisa overheard. Walked past wearing a simple black dress. Actually Chanel. $2,500, but understated, classy. Brandon noticed her. Hey, bridesmaid, nice dress. Rent it? Lisa smiled. Yes, I did. Couldn't afford to buy. More laughter. I watched this from across the room. Fury building. Emma caught my eye, shook her head slightly. Not yet. So I waited. Dinner began. Chicken or fish? Victoria had chosen chicken. More economical, she explained to the woman next to her, loud enough for our table to hear. With Emma's family contributing so little to the budget, we had to make practical choices. Our table had contributed exactly $0 because Victoria had insisted on paying, made a big show of it. Don't worry about the cost. I know it's beyond your means. Consider it my gift to the happy couple. Emma had tried to contribute, offered to pay for flowers, or the cake, or anything. Victoria refused. No, I insist. I'm sure you have other expenses, debts, that sort of thing. The truth. Emma had $400,000 in savings and investments, no debt, owned her car outright, could have paid for the entire wedding in cash without touching the trust fund our parents had set up for her. But she'd let Victoria take control because she knew Christopher's mother needed to feel generous, superior, in charge, and because the eventual revelation would be so much sweeter. The toasts began. Best man, maid of honor, parents. Victoria stood, champagne glass in hand, diamonds glittering on every finger. I want to welcome Emma into our family. The Ashfords have always been people of certain standards, and while Emma comes from humbler beginnings, I'm confident she'll adapt to our way of life. Christopher has always been generous. He'll take good care of her, teach her about finer things, show her what real quality looks like. Polite applause. Our table stayed quiet. Christopher looked uncomfortable. Emma squeezed his hand. My father stood next. Calm, measured. I want to thank the Ashfords for their hospitality tonight. This is a beautiful venue, beautiful celebration. Emma, your mother and I are so proud of the woman you've become, not because of what you have, but because of who you are. Kind, generous, humble, you've never needed wealth to define you, and that's the greatest gift we could give you. Our table erupted, standing ovation. The Ashfords looked confused. Why were we cheering humility? Wasn't that just making the best of poverty? But the clues were starting to emerge for those paying attention. During dinner, Richard mentioned a property he was considering. Industrial park outside Denver. Owner wants $12 million. Bit overpriced, but good location. Uncle James perked up. Which property? Richard described it. Address, square footage, current tenants. Uncle James nodded. I know that property. Owner's asking 12, but he'll take 9.5. Foundation has issues. You'd need to budget another $1 million for repairs. Richard stared. How do you know that? I looked at it last month, decided against it. Numbers don't work. You were looking at a $12 million property? I look at a lot of properties, due diligence. Richard processed that slowly. What did you say you do again? Tech startup. Right, must be a successful startup. We do okay. Later, Victoria mentioned a charity auction she was organizing. We're trying to raise $500,000 for the Children's Hospital. It's been challenging, so many worthy causes competing for donations. My mother spoke up. That's wonderful. The Children's Hospital is important. They did excellent work with Emma's cousin when she had cancer. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is she all right? She's thriving now. 10 years cancer-free. That's wonderful. Do you donate to the hospital? When we can. They do good work. Every little bit helps. Even small donations make a difference. Mom smiled. Yes, every little bit. She didn't mention the $50,000 check she'd sent them last month, or the $100,000 she'd pledged for their new wing, or the fact that she was on their board of directors. Small donations indeed. The dancing started. Father-daughter dance, mother-son dance, first dance as husband and wife. Brandon cornered me at the bar. Drunk. Leering. So, bridesmaid, you single? Not interested. Come on, don't be like that. I'm a catch. Family money. Trust fund. I could show you a good time. I'm sure you could. But I'm not interested in trust fund babies. Ouch. What, you want someone who works for a living? Someone without money? I want someone with integrity. Money's irrelevant. Easy to say when you don't have any. I smiled. You're right. I don't have a trust fund. Because I didn't. I'd turned mine down, put it back into the family business, preferred to earn my own money, which I did, as a pediatric surgeon. $280,000 a year, plus bonuses, plus investments. But Brandon didn't need to know that. See, you get it, he continued. You're poor, Emma's poor, but you landed rich guys. Smart play. Is that what you think? It's what I know. Emma saw Christopher's bank account and locked him down. Can't blame her. I'd do the same thing. You're disgusting. I'm honest, unlike your sister, playing the humble innocent. We all know what she's after. I walked away before I said something I'd regret. Found Emma, told her what Brandon said. She laughed. He thinks I married Christopher for money? Apparently. That's hilarious. Why aren't you angry? Because the truth will come out soon enough, and his embarrassment will be delicious. When? When are we revealing? Soon. Very soon. The reveal started during the cake cutting. The cake was simple. 3 tiers, white fondant, elegant, nothing crazy. Victoria stage whispered to Constance, I offered to pay for a real cake, from that French patisserie. But Emma insisted on this. Local bakery saves money, I suppose. The local bakery was run by our cousin David, pastry chef, trained in Paris, won international competitions, could charge $10,000 for a wedding cake if he wanted. This cake was his gift to Emma. Technically free, actually priceless, but Victoria didn't know that. At least it looks nice, Constance replied, even if it's not from anywhere important. Christopher overheard. The cake is from Emma's cousin. He's an incredible pastry chef. Oh, a family member made it? How sweet. Very DIY. He's not DIY. He's world class. He's one. Emma touched Christopher's arm. It's okay. The cake speaks for itself. They cut it, served it. People tasted it. Silence, then murmurs, then amazement. This is incredible. Best wedding cake I've ever had. Where did you get this? Victoria tasted it. Her face changed. Surprise. Confusion. This is very good. My cousin made it, Emma said simply. Your cousin is very talented. He is. He trained at Le Cordon Bleu, worked at several Michelin-starred restaurants in Paris before opening his own bakery. Oh, I didn't realize. You didn't ask. The first crack in Victoria's certainty. An hour later, Richard was discussing investment strategy with a colleague. I've got a guy in Hong Kong, manages my portfolio, makes me 20% annually. Uncle James happened to be nearby. 20% in this market, that's impressive. He's the best. Costs a fortune in fees, but worth it. What's he charging? 1%? 1.5? 2.25% annually. Uncle James winced. That's steep. You get what you pay for. True. But you can get the same returns with lower fees. Index funds average 9 to 10% with 0.03% fees. Consistent, reliable. Index funds are for people who don't have real money to invest. Is that what you think? It's what I know. Uncle James smiled. Interesting perspective. He didn't mention his investment firm, or the fact that he managed $400 million in assets, or that his advice on index funds came from 30 years of experience outperforming active managers. Richard would figure it out eventually. The bouquet toss. Emma gathered the single women. I stood in back, not interested in catching it. She threw. It sailed over everyone's heads. Straight to me, like she'd aimed. I caught it reflexively. Cheers, applause. Brandon yelled from across the room, "Looks like the poor bridesmaid is next. Who's going to marry her? Another rich guy?" Laughter from the Ashford side. I smiled, held up the bouquet, and my boyfriend James, who I'd brought as my +1, walked over, kissed me, whispered, "Ignore them. I am. Should I tell them I'm a public school teacher making $45,000 a year?" Absolutely. Play into their expectations. He grinned. Loved the game as much as I did. Later, Richard approached James. "So you're dating Maya?" "I am." "What do you do?" "I teach. High school history." "Ah, noble profession. Doesn't pay much, though?" "No, but it's rewarding." "Still, can't be easy. Dating someone with limited means." James smiled. "We make it work." What Richard didn't know. James taught at an elite private school, made $90,000 a year, plus benefits, plus summers off, plus free tuition if we had kids. But high school history teacher sounded struggling, so that's what we let him believe. The evening progressed. More drinking, more dancing, more condescending comments from the Ashford clan. Then the gift opening, not traditional at weddings, but Victoria insisted. "I want everyone to see the beautiful gifts we got for the happy couple." Translation: I want to show off how much money we spent. The gifts were opened, displayed, announced. From the Ashfords, Le Creuset cookware set, $1,500. Fine china, $2,500. Crystal stemware, $1,800. Luxury linens, $2,000. KitchenAid mixer, $800. Total, approximately $8,600 in gifts. Victoria beamed. We wanted to set them up properly, give them things they'd never be able to afford otherwise. Then our family's gifts. From my parents' envelope. Christopher opened it. Read. Face went white. "What is it?" Victoria asked. It's a deed to a house." "A house?" "A 3-bedroom house in a good neighborhood, paid off, free and clear." Silence. Victoria recovered first. "Oh my, that's very generous. I'm sure it's a lovely starter home." Emma smiled. "It's valued at $800,000. More silence. $800,000? How did your parents? "They bought it as a wedding gift. But how can they afford? They can afford it." Confusion rippled through the Ashford side. How could the poor family give an $800,000 gift? From Uncle James, another envelope, stock certificates, Tesla, Apple, Amazon, Google, total value, $200,000. "A little nest egg to start building wealth," he said. "Never too early to invest." From Cousin David, a year of free catering, any event, any size. Within reason, of course. I can't do a 1,000-person gala, but dinner parties, holidays, special occasions, on me. His catering business charged $15,000 per event, minimum. A year of free service, approximately $180,000 in value. From Cousin Lisa, private jet service for their honeymoon. 4 round trips, anywhere you want, my gift. Her company owned 3 jets, leased them to corporations, made $8 million annually, 4 round trips, approximately $80,000 in value. The gifts kept coming, all modest in presentation, all staggering in value. Investment portfolios, real estate, business services, travel, art, total value from our poor family, approximately $2.4 million. The Ashfords were speechless. Victoria found her voice. I don't understand. How can you afford all this? My father stood, calm, measured. We don't talk about money. It's gauche. But since you've made assumptions all evening, I'll clarify. My wife and I own several restaurants, commercial properties, investments. Our net worth is approximately $80 million. Our family is comfortable, very comfortable. Gasps. But you live so simply. Your cars, your clothes, Emma's apartment. We choose to live simply. Money is a tool, not an identity. We don't need to broadcast wealth. We just need to use it wisely, give generously, live authentically. Richard spoke up. If you're worth 80 million, why didn't you contribute to the wedding costs? You insisted on paying, made it clear you wanted control. We respected that. But you let us believe you couldn't afford it. You assumed we couldn't afford it. We never said that. You never asked. You just decided based on superficial observations. That's not fair, isn't it? You spent 6 months treating our family as charity cases, making condescending comments, offering help we never requested. We let you, because Emma wanted to see if Christopher truly loved her regardless of her perceived economic status. He passed that test. He stood up for her, defended her, loved her without caring about money. Christopher's face was red. Dad, I tried to tell you, Emma's family is amazing, but you wouldn't listen. Richard had no response. Victoria tried to save face. Well, this is certainly surprising. If you'd known, would you have treated us differently? Of course. We would have. Exactly. You would have treated us differently based on our wealth, not our character, our bank accounts, not our values. That's why we didn't tell you. Because people like you only respect money, not integrity. Constance jumped in. That's not true. We respect all kinds of people. Uncle James laughed. Really? You asked me 3 times tonight what car I drive. When I said Honda Civic, you literally laughed. Said I needed to upgrade my life. That's not respect. That's snobbery. I was making conversation. You were making judgments. Brandon, drunk and belligerent. This is bullshit. You tricked us, made us look like idiots. You made yourselves look like idiots, I said, by assuming poverty based on modest living, by confusing simplicity with inadequacy, by treating human beings as lesser because they drive older cars and shop at Target. We were trying to help. We didn't need help. We needed basic courtesy, which you couldn't provide. The confrontation continued, voices rising, accusations flying. Finally, Emma stood. Enough. Silence. This is my wedding, Christopher's and mine, not a battlefield, not a competition, just a celebration of our love. And I'd like to enjoy it without drama. Victoria started to protest. Emma held up her hand. Victoria, you've been kind to Christopher his whole life. You love him. I know that. But your kindness comes with conditions, with expectations, with judgments. You need people to fit your worldview, your definition of success, your standards of worth. I just want the best for my son. The best for Christopher is someone who loves him authentically, not his money, not his status, not his last name, just him. I would have loved him if he was a barista making minimum wage. I would have married him if he had nothing, because love isn't about economics. It's about connection, values, partnership. But you let us believe, I let you believe what you chose to believe. You saw my modest car and assumed poverty. You saw my Target clothes and assumed inadequacy. You saw my freelance career and assumed failure. Those were your assumptions, not my deceptions. Christopher took her hand. I love you. I love you too. I don't care about any of this, the money, the houses, the gifts. I just care about you. I know, that's why I'm marrying you. They kissed, applause from our side of the room. awkward silence from the Ashfords. Richard approached my father, extended his hand. I owe you an apology, and your family. We were rude, condescending, shamefully judgmental. We were, Victoria agreed quietly. I'm sorry, truly sorry. I thought we were better than you. I was wrong. Dad shook Richard's hand. Apology accepted, but understand we don't need your approval, your validation, your acceptance. We know our worth, and it has nothing to do with your opinion of us. I see that now. Good, let's enjoy the rest of the evening. This is a celebration. Let's celebrate. The tension eased, slightly. The party continued, but the dynamic had shifted. The Ashfords were subdued, chastened, whispering among themselves, glancing at our family with new eyes, reassessing everything. Brandon approached me. I was an asshole earlier. I'm sorry. You were. Apology accepted. For what it's worth, I really thought you guys were broke. Not that it matters, but I wouldn't have said those things if I'd known. You shouldn't have said them regardless of our financial situation. You're right. I'm sorry. Thank you. He walked away, defeated, embarrassed. James wrapped an arm around me. That was satisfying. It was. Do you think they learned anything? Some of them? Maybe. Richard and Victoria seemed genuinely remorseful. Brandon's just embarrassed. Constance is already making excuses. But maybe a few of them will think differently going forward. Or maybe they'll just resent being shown up. Possibly, but that's their problem, not ours. The evening wound down. Goodbyes. Hugs. Congratulations. Victoria hugged Emma. I really am sorry about everything. I hope you can forgive me. I already have. But Victoria, please, going forward with Christopher, with our future children, with life. Please remember, worth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in character. Teach your grandchildren that. It's the most valuable lesson you can give them. I will, I promise. Emma and Christopher left for their honeymoon. Private jet, courtesy of cousin Lisa. 2 weeks in Bali. All expenses paid, not because they couldn't afford it, but because Lisa wanted to give them something special. The rest of us cleaned up, said goodbye, headed home. In the car, Mom asked Dad, "Do you think we were too harsh?" No, they needed to hear it. But now they'll tell everyone. The whole country club will know we're wealthy. So much for privacy. Let them talk. Our values haven't changed. Our lifestyle won't change. We'll still live simply, still give generously, still stay authentic. You're right. I listened from the back seat. Proud of my parents, proud of Emma, proud of our family. We'd been mocked, dismissed, treated as lesser. And we'd responded with grace, with dignity, with a lesson the Ashfords desperately needed. Money doesn't make you better. Character does. Values do. Integrity does. The Ashfords had money, but they'd lacked everything else that mattered. Until tonight, when they'd learned the hard way that true wealth is measured in how you treat people, not how much you have. And that lesson was priceless. A month later, Emma called. You'll never believe what happened. What? Victoria quit her country club charity board. Why? She said she couldn't in good conscience organize fundraisers when she'd been so judgmental about people's wealth. Said she needed to reevaluate her values. Wow. And Richard started volunteering at a homeless shelter, teaching financial literacy classes. Seriously? Seriously. And Brandon enrolled in therapy, working through his entitlement issues. That's amazing. I know. I think the wedding actually changed them, or started to at least. Do you think it'll last? I don't know. Change is hard. Old patterns are comfortable, but they're trying. That's something. It is. Christopher's proud of them, says he's never seen his parents so humble. How's married life? Perfect. We're happy, really happy. Good. You deserve it. We both do. Thanks for having my back at the wedding. Always. We hung up, and I thought about that night, the mocking, the revelation, the comeuppance, and I smiled. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't hurting people back. It's showing them who you really are and letting their own prejudices embarrass them. The Ashfords had learned that lesson the hard way, but they'd learned it. And maybe, just maybe, they'd become better people because of it. That was the real victory, not the embarrassment, not the comeuppance, not the satisfaction of proving them wrong, but the possibility that our family's example had changed them, made them reconsider, made them grow. That was worth more than $80 million. That was priceless. 3 months after the wedding, Emma invited me to lunch. Her treat. She wanted to talk. We met at a small cafe. Not fancy, just comfortable. The kind of place Emma loved. Maya, I need your advice. About what? Christopher's family. They've been different since the wedding. Different how? Better, mostly. Victoria calls me weekly. Wants to build a relationship. Actual relationship. Not the fake charity case version she had before. That's good, right? It is, but it's also weird. She asks about my family constantly, our businesses, our investments, our properties, like she's trying to understand how she missed it. She missed it because she didn't bother looking past surface appearances. I know, but now she's overcorrecting, treating us like royalty. It's almost worse than the condescension. How? Because it's still about money. Before, she disrespected us because we appeared poor. Now she respects us because we're wealthy. Either way, it's not about who we are as people. Have you told her that? I've tried. She doesn't get it. Says she's making amends and showing proper respect. Sounds exhausting. It is. Christopher feels caught in the middle. He loves his family, but he's embarrassed by them, frustrated. What does he want? For everyone to just be normal. For his family to treat mine like equals, not charity cases, not secret millionaires, just people. That's reasonable, but I don't think the Ashfords know how to do that. Money is their language, their measure of everything. Without it as a reference point, they're lost. I sipped my coffee. So, what are you going to do? Keep setting boundaries. Keep being myself. Keep living simply. And hope they eventually learn that wealth isn't personality. Think they will? Some of them. Victoria's trying, Richard too. Brandon's in therapy, which helps. But Constance is hopeless. She's already telling people we tricked her, playing victim. Of course she is, Emma laughed. The irony is, we weren't trying to trick anyone, we just lived our normal lives. They made assumptions. That's on them. Exactly. But still, part of me wonders if we should have been upfront from the beginning, avoided all this drama, and missed the look on their faces when they realized, no way, that was priceless. She grinned. It really was. We finished lunch, hugged goodbye, went our separate ways. But the story didn't end there, because the Ashfords' transformation had consequences none of us anticipated. 2 months later, Victoria called a family meeting, invited Emma and Christopher, asked if our parents could attend too. What's this about? Dad asked when Emma called. No idea. Victoria was cryptic, said it was important, urgent. Should we go? I think so. Christopher says his mom has been really serious lately, working on something big. So we went, all of us, Mom, Dad, Emma, me, even Uncle James, who happened to be in town. The Ashford estate, same mansion where the condescension had started. Now the site of... What? We didn't know. Victoria greeted us at the door, warm, genuine. Thank you for coming. I know this is unusual, but I needed to talk to all of you. We gathered in their formal living room. Uncomfortable chairs, expensive art, everything designed to impress. Richard stood, cleared his throat. We've been doing a lot of thinking since the wedding about our behavior, our values, our priorities. We were terrible to you, Victoria added. Absolutely terrible, and we're ashamed. You've apologized, Dad said. We've accepted. We've moved forward. I know, but apologies aren't enough. We need to make actual changes, real changes, not just words. Okay, what kind of changes? Richard explained. We've been wealthy our entire lives, inherited money, family money. We never had to work for it, never struggled, never understood what it meant to build something from nothing. You build things, Victoria continued. Real things, businesses, properties, value. You earned your wealth. We just inherited ours, and it made us arrogant, entitled, blind to anyone who didn't fit our narrow worldview. So we're making changes, Richard said. Big changes, he explained. They'd set up a foundation, $20 million, to support small business owners. People like my parents had been 30 years ago, people trying to build something from nothing. We want to invest in people the way we should have respected you, Victoria said, not based on their current wealth, but on their character, their drive, their potential. That's generous, Mom said carefully. But why tell us? Because we want your help, your guidance. You know what it's like to build from scratch, to work hard, to make smart decisions. We don't. We've never had to. But if we're going to run this foundation properly, we need partners who understand the journey. You want us to help run your foundation? If you're willing. We know it's asking a lot after how we treated you, but we're serious about this, about changing, about doing better. Dad and Mom exchanged looks, silent conversation. We'll think about it, Dad said. This is a big commitment. We need to discuss it, make sure it's genuine, not just guilt-driven. That's fair, Richard said. Take all the time you need. We left, drove home in silence. Finally, Mom spoke. What do you think? I think they're trying, Dad said. Really trying. But I'm not sure if it's sustainable. Guilt-motivated change rarely lasts. But if it does last, if they're genuine, then maybe we help. Not because we owe them anything, but because helping people build businesses is good work. Meaningful work. Agreed. A week later, my parents agreed to serve as advisors to the Ashford Foundation. Not operators, not decision makers, just advisors, guides, voices of experience. The foundation launched 6 months later. Press conference, articles in business journals, attention from the philanthropic community. The Ashfords handled it well, didn't take credit, didn't make it about themselves, just focused on the mission, helping small business owners succeed. First grant, $50,000 to an immigrant family opening a restaurant. Same type of restaurant my parents had started with 30 years ago. Second grant, $75,000 to a woman launching a tech startup from her garage. Same way Uncle James had started. Third grant, $100,000 to a commercial real estate developer trying to build affordable housing. Same market my mother had built her fortune in. The grants were strategic, well-researched, thoughtful, not just throwing money at problems, actually solving them. And my parents' advice was instrumental. They knew the challenges, the pitfalls, the strategies that worked. They guided the foundation towards smart investments, meaningful impact. The Ashfords listened, learned, evolved. It was fascinating to watch. A year after the wedding, Brandon called me. Hey, Maya, got a minute? Sure, what's up? I wanted to apologize, again, for the wedding and for being a dick basically my entire life. You already apologized. I know, but I've been in therapy, working through stuff. And I realized I've never actually acknowledged how my behavior affected people. I just said sorry and moved on. That's not enough. Okay, I'm listening. At the wedding, I said horrible things about you, about Emma, about your family. I objectified you, insulted you, treated you like you were less than human. And I did it because I'd been taught that money equals worth, that people without money don't matter. That's fucked up. And I'm sorry. Not because you turned out to be rich, but because you're human. And I treated you like you weren't. I was quiet, processing. This wasn't the Brandon from the wedding. This was someone different, someone self-aware. Thank you, I said. That means a lot. I'm trying to be better, be less of an entitled asshole. Therapy helps. So does volunteering. I've been working at a homeless shelter, teaching financial literacy. Same thing my dad does. It's humbling. These people have nothing, but they're smart, resourceful, hardworking. They just got dealt bad hands. And I used to think they deserved it, like poverty was a moral failing. Now I know better. Growth is good. It is. And Maya, I know this is weird, but thank you, you and your family, for not just accepting our bullshit, for calling us out, for showing us we were wrong. We needed that. You're welcome. Also, for what it's worth, I think your boyfriend James is great. I stalked him on LinkedIn, saw he teaches at Dalton. That's impressive. Those kids are lucky to have him. I laughed. You stalked him? I was curious, wanted to know more about you, in a non-creepy way. Mostly? Mostly? Like 90% non-creepy. I'll take it. We talked for another 20 minutes about his therapy, his volunteering, his efforts to change. He was genuine, earnest, trying. It was encouraging. 2 years after the wedding, the foundation had given out 40 grants, $3.5 million. Every business funded was thriving. Success rate, 95%. Victoria was interviewed by a business magazine. What's your secret? The reporter asked. Most philanthropy has maybe 50% success rates. You're at 95. How? We don't fund based on pity, Victoria explained. We fund based on potential. We look for people who know their industry, have strong plans, show discipline. Then we support them. Mentorship, connections, capital, everything they need to succeed. And who evaluates potential? Our advisors, the Chen family. They built their empire from nothing. They know what success looks like before it happens. We trust their judgment. You're very complimentary of the Chens. They deserve it. They're the smartest people I know. I spent years underestimating them, dismissing them. I was a fool. Now I listen to everything they say. The article went viral. Business schools used it as a case study. The foundation became a model for effective philanthropy. And the Ashfords kept learning, keep growing, kept changing. 3 years after the wedding, Emma got pregnant. First grandchild for both families. Victoria was ecstatic, called Emma daily, offered to throw a baby shower, pay for a nursery, buy everything the baby could possibly need. Emma declined most of it. Victoria, we appreciate the offers, but we've got this. We can afford what we need. I know you can, but I want to help. I'm the grandmother. Let me spoil my grandchild. You can spoil the baby with love, with time, with attention, but we don't need stuff. We need family, present, engaged family. Victoria absorbed that. You're right. I'll be present, I promise. And she was. She came to doctor appointments, helped set up the nursery, not by throwing money at it, by actually showing up, painting walls, building furniture, being useful. It was sweet, genuine. The relationship Emma had always wanted with her mother-in-law. The baby, a girl named Sophie, was born healthy, 8 pounds, perfect. Both grandmothers cried, held her, marveled at her. She's beautiful, Victoria whispered. She is, my mother agreed. Thank you, Victoria said suddenly. For what? For raising Emma, for teaching her values, for showing her that wealth isn't worth. She's teaching me the same lesson through how she lives, how she loves, how she parents. I'm grateful. Mom smiled. You're learning. That's all that matters. I'm trying. Keep trying. It's working. Sophie's christening was small, family only, no country club, no extravagance, just a simple church ceremony and lunch afterward. The Ashfords came in modest clothes, no designer labels visible, no jewelry beyond wedding rings and watches. Constance complained. Why can't we dress nicely? It's a christening. You are dressed nicely, Victoria told her sister. But nicely doesn't mean expensively. It means appropriately, and this is appropriate. Since when do you care about appropriate over expensive? Since I learned the difference. Constance rolled her eyes but didn't argue. At lunch, Richard asked Dad about business. Not to show off, not to compete, just genuine interest. How do you decide which opportunities to pursue, Richard asked. You must get hundreds of pitches. We look for three things, Dad explained. Passion, preparation, perseverance. If someone has all three, they'll probably succeed. If they're missing even one, they'll probably fail. That's simple. Simple, but not easy. Most people have passion. Fewer have preparation. Even fewer have perseverance. You need all three. And you can tell from a pitch meeting? Usually. You ask the right questions. Listen carefully. Pay attention to how they respond to challenges. Their answers tell you everything. Will you teach me how to evaluate like that? I'd be happy to. And he did. Richard started attending pitch meetings at the foundation, learning from Dad, asking questions, developing instincts. He got good at it. Really good. Within a year, Richard was making grant decisions independently. Good decisions. The success rate stayed at 95%. You have a gift for this, Dad told him. I learned from the best. You did the work. That's what matters. 4 years after the wedding, I married James. Small ceremony, backyard wedding, just like Emma and I had always talked about. The Ashfords came, dressed simply, brought modest gifts, behaved perfectly. Brandon was a groomsman. James had asked him. Really? I'd said. You want my former tormentor in our wedding party? He's changed, and he's become a friend. Good guy. Give him a chance. So I did. And Brandon was great. Helpful, kind, funny. Nothing like the drunk asshole from Emma's wedding. At the reception, Victoria approached me. Thank you for including us. After how we treated you at Emma's wedding, we didn't deserve invitations. Everyone deserves second chances. Still, we're grateful. And Maya, I want you to know, watching your family these past 4 years has changed me. Changed all of us. You live your values. Every day, without exception. It's inspiring. Thank you. I mean it. When I die, I don't want people to remember me as the rich woman who threw fancy parties. I want them to remember me as someone who mattered, who helped people, who made a difference. Your family taught me that's possible, thank you. You're welcome. She hugged me genuinely, and I hugged back. The Ashfords had become family. Real family. Not just in-laws. Actually family. It had taken years, effort, mistakes, growth. But they'd done it. They'd changed. 5 years after Emma's wedding, the foundation celebrated its 5th anniversary. $50 million in grants. 120 businesses funded. Success rate, 96%. Richard gave a speech. 5 years ago, I thought I knew what wealth meant. Money, possessions, status. I was wrong. Wealth is what you build. How you help, what you leave behind. The Chen family taught me that. I'm forever grateful. He introduced my parents, asked them to say a few words. Dad stood, humble as ever. We're just one family, living our values, trying to make a difference. But if our example helped inspire this foundation, if our story helped change perspectives, then I'm proud, not of our bank account, but of our impact. That's what matters. Standing ovation. The foundation continued to grow, expand, help hundreds of families build businesses, create wealth, change lives. And at the center of it all, the unlikely partnership between two families, one that had started in mockery and condescension, that had evolved through revelation and embarrassment, and that had ultimately transformed into genuine respect and collaboration. The Ashfords learned that money doesn't make you better. Character does. Values do. Integrity does. And our family learned that people can change. Growth is possible. Redemption is real. Not always. Not easily, but sometimes. And that's worth more than any bank account. 6 years after the wedding, Emma called with news. Victoria's sick. What? Cancer, stage 3, aggressive. She starts chemo next week. Oh no. Christopher's devastated. She's asking for you, and Mom and Dad says she needs to talk to us. We visited her at the hospital. She looked small, frail, nothing like the imposing woman from the wedding. Thank you for coming, she whispered. Of course, Mom said. We're family. I don't have much time. Doctors say maybe a year, maybe less, and I needed to tell you something before it's too late. What? You saved my life, not literally, but spiritually. I was empty before, hollow, defined by money and status and meaningless things. You showed me what actually matters: family, values, impact. These last 6 years have been the best of my life, the most meaningful, and I owe that to you. She was crying. We were crying. Even Richard, standing in the corner, had tears running down his face. You don't owe us anything, Dad said. You did the work. You changed. That's all you. But you showed me the way, gave me a map. I'd have been lost without it. Then we're glad we could help. She died 8 months later, peaceful, surrounded by family, at home. The funeral was packed. Hundreds of people, business leaders, philanthropists, foundation grant recipients, people whose lives she'd touched. Richard gave the eulogy. My wife spent 60 years measuring worth in dollars, and 6 years measuring it in impact. She packed more meaning into those final 6 years than the previous 60 combined, because she finally understood. Wealth is what you give, not what you have. After the funeral, Richard pulled my father aside. I want to expand the foundation, double it, 50 million more, in Victoria's memory. That's generous. It's what she'd want. She fell in love with this work. It gave her purpose. I want to honor that. Then we'll help, however we can. The foundation expanded. 100 million total. More grants, more businesses, more lives changed. All because two families clashed at a wedding, because mockery turned into revelation, because embarrassment transformed into growth. The Ashfords started wealthy. Our family built wealth. But in the end, both families learned the same lesson. Money is a tool. Character is a treasure. And the richest people aren't those with the most money. They're the ones who use what they have to lift others up. That's the real wealth. That's what actually matters. And that's the legacy Victoria Ashford left behind, not millions of dollars, but millions of lives improved, hundreds of businesses built, countless families given opportunities, because she learned late, but genuinely, that true wealth is measured in impact, not income, and that lesson changed everything. 10 years after that wedding, 10 years after the revelation that changed everything, I stood in the same country club ballroom, different event, same location. Sophie's 10th birthday party. Emma and Christopher's daughter, the grandchild who'd brought two families together. The room looked different now, not because the decor had changed, but because the people had. Richard sat with Dad, discussing a grant application, debating strategy, equals, friends. My mother and Christopher's mother. Wait, Victoria was gone. But her sister Constance, the one who'd never quite gotten it, was talking to my mother, awkwardly, but trying. Your daughter did well with this party, Constance said. Very tasteful, not overdone. Thank you. I'm learning to appreciate simplicity. It's taken me years, but Victoria was right. Less can be more. Mom smiled. Victoria would be proud of you. I hope so. I miss her every day. We all do. Brandon approached with his wife, Maria, a social worker he'd met at the homeless shelter. They'd married 3 years ago. Simple ceremony, just like Emma's should have been. Maya, James, good to see you. You too, Brandon. We hugged, genuinely. He wasn't the drunk bully anymore. He was a friend, a good person, someone who'd done the work to change. How's the shelter? James asked. Busy, always busy, but good. We placed 15 people in permanent housing last month. Best month we've ever had. That's amazing. It is. And Maria's program is thriving. She started a job training initiative. 93% of graduates find employment within 3 months. That's incredible. She's incredible. He kissed his wife. I'm lucky. Maria laughed. You're biased. Biased, but correct. I watched them, happy, in love, contributing, building something meaningful. This wasn't the Brandon from Emma's wedding. This was someone completely different. Transformation is real, if people want it badly enough. Sophie ran past, 10 years old, smart, kind, grounded. She'd grown up watching both families, learning from both, taking the best from each. Grandpa Richard, come play. She grabbed his hand. I'm coming, sweetheart. He followed her, patient, engaged. The grandfather Victoria had dreamed of becoming, but never quite managed. Richard had picked up where she left off. Emma found me. Can you believe it's been 10 years? I can't. It feels like yesterday. Remember how awful they were? Victoria's simple dress comment. Richard asking if Dad was between opportunities. Constance insulting Mom's J.C. Penney dress. And Brandon calling you a gold digger. Classy! We laughed, but the laughter was tinged with gratitude because that awful night had led to this, to transformation, to family, to genuine connection. Do you think they would have changed without the reveal? Emma asked. No, they needed the shock, the embarrassment, the moment of reckoning. Without that, they'd have kept going, kept judging, kept being terrible. So, in a way, their awfulness was necessary. Necessary evil, catalyst for growth. Poetic. Or just lucky. Christopher joined us. What are you two talking about? The wedding, the reveal, how far everyone's come. Dad talks about that night constantly. Says it was the wake-up call he didn't know he needed. Your mom said similar things? Before she died. She did. Told me once that meeting your family was the best thing that ever happened to her, that she'd been sleepwalking through life, measuring everything wrong, and you guys woke her up. We just lived our lives. Exactly. And that was enough. You didn't need to prove anything, didn't need to show off, just existed authentically, and it exposed all their insecurities. Ouch. But true. They were so focused on appearing successful that they forgot to actually be good people. You showed them the difference. Richard approached. Sorry to interrupt, but Maya, I wanted to ask you something. Sure. The foundation is opening a medical scholarship program for students who want to become doctors but can't afford medical school. Would you be willing to serve on the selection committee? You'd evaluate applications, interview candidates, help us choose wisely. I'd be honored. Excellent. We're funding 10 students per year, full ride, all expenses. We want to invest in people who will serve underserved communities, doctors who'll go where they're needed, not just where the money is. That's a great mission. It was Victoria's idea. She wrote it in her will, said she wanted to fund a program that would create doctors like you, doctors who chose the work for the right reasons. She said that? She did. She admired you, your choices, your values, wanted to create more people like you. I was touched. Victoria and I had never been close, but apparently she'd noticed, respected, learned. I'll do my best to honor her vision. Thank you. Later, during cake, Sophie made a toast. 10 years old and already poised, confident, grounded. Thank you, everyone, for coming to my party. I'm lucky to have two amazing families, the Chens and the Ashfords. Grandpa Richard says they used to be very different, but now they're the same because they both believe in helping people, being kind, making a difference. I want to be like that too. I want to help people, make the world better, like my grandmas did, like my grandpas do, like my parents do. That's my birthday wish, to be someone who matters, not because of money, but because of what I do with it. Applause, some tears, a lot of pride. This child, this beautiful, grounded child, was the perfect symbol of what two families could create when they chose growth over ego. After the party, as we cleaned up, I found a letter. On the gift table, addressed to Emma and Christopher from the Ashford Foundation. Inside, a check, $10 million, and a note. Dear Emma and Christopher, 10 years ago you invited two families to a wedding. One family mocked, one family revealed. Both families learned. This gift represents the profits from Victoria's estate. She left instructions that any residual funds should go to you, not because you need them, but because you inspired them. Use this however you want. Invest it, donate it, build something. The choice is yours. But know this, Victoria's final wish was that this money create more transformation, more growth, more stories like ours. She believed you'd know exactly what to do. With love and respect, the Ashford Family Foundation. Emma read it, tears streaming. $10 million. What will you do with it? I asked. I don't know, but whatever we do, it'll honor Victoria, honor the transformation, honor what both families have become. 6 months later, Emma and Christopher announced their decision. They'd create a new foundation, the Victoria Ashford Chen Foundation, dedicated to teaching financial literacy and values-based living to young people. We want to teach kids what we learned, Emma explained at the launch event. That money is a tool, not an identity. That wealth is what you build, not what you have. That character matters more than bank accounts. The foundation started small, pilot program in 10 schools, teaching kids budgeting, investing, giving, and values. Within 3 years, it had expanded to 100 schools, reaching 10,000 students annually. Within 5 years, 500 schools, 50,000 students. The curriculum was unique, not just math, but philosophy, ethics, character. If you have $1,000, what do you do with it? Teachers would ask. Kids would answer, save it, spend it, invest it. Those are all options. But what about giving it? What about using it to help someone? What about measuring success not in what you keep, but in what you share? The kids learned, grew, changed, became little versions of what the Chens and Reformed Ashfords represented. Character over cash, impact over income, values over valuations. 15 years after that wedding, I attended another event, Richard's 80th birthday party. He'd retired from active foundation work, passed leadership to Brandon and Emma, but he still advised, still attended events, still believed in the mission. At the party, surrounded by family and friends, and grant recipients and scholarship students, Richard stood to speak. 60 years ago, I inherited money. 20 years ago, I thought that money made me better than others. 15 years ago, a wedding reception taught me I was wrong. And the last 15 years have been the best of my life because I finally understood. Wealth is what you give, not what you get. Character is what you are, not what you have. And the richest people aren't those with the most money. They're those who make the biggest difference. He raised his glass. To the Chen family, who taught an old fool new lessons, to Victoria, who embraced those lessons and built something beautiful, to Emma and Christopher, who continue the work, and to all of you, who prove every day that transformation is possible, that growth is real, that people can change. To transformation, everyone cheered. We drank, we celebrated, we remembered the journey from mockery to meaning, from condescension to contribution, from judgment to growth. It had taken years, effort, humility, work, but two families, once divided by assumptions and arrogance, had become united by values and vision. And all because one wedding reception exposed the truth. Money doesn't make you better. It just reveals who you really are. The Ashfords had been revealed as arrogant, judgmental, shallow, but they'd chosen to change, to grow, to become better. And in doing so, they'd created a legacy worth infinitely more than their bank account. Hundreds of businesses funded, thousands of jobs created, tens of thousands of students taught, countless lives improved, all because two families collided at a wedding, all because revelation led to transformation, all because people chose growth over ego. That's the real story, the true ending, not the moment of revelation, not the comeuppance, not even the apologies, but the decades of work that followed, the genuine change, the authentic transformation. That's what matters. That's what lasts. That's wealth, real wealth. 20 years after that wedding, I received an invitation, handwritten, elegant, from Sophie Chen Ashford. She was getting married, 20 years old, just graduated college, engaged to a man she'd met in her foundation volunteer work. Dear Aunt Maya, I'm getting married. I know I'm young, but when you know, huh? That's what Mom always says. The wedding will be simple, garden ceremony, small reception, just family and close friends, about 50 people, no country club, no expensive champagne, no showing off, just love and celebration, and the people who matter. I'm asking you to be a bridesmaid because you've always been there for me, always taught me to live authentically, always showed me that wealth is character, not cash. I hope you'll say yes. With love, Sophie, I cried, reading it. This beautiful young woman, raised by two families who'd learned to value what actually matters. About to start her own journey. The wedding was perfect, simple, authentic, everything Sophie wanted. Her fiancé, Marcus, a teacher, was nervous but genuine, clearly in love, clearly right for her. The ceremony was short, sweet, focused on commitment, partnership, values. The reception was in Christopher and Emma's backyard. Same backyard where Christopher had proposed to Emma 22 years ago. Full circle. Richard gave a toast. 85 years old, still sharp, still passionate. 22 years ago, I attended a wedding where I learned the most important lesson of my life. People are not their bank accounts. Today, I'm watching my granddaughter marry a man who earns $39,000 a year as a public school teacher. And I couldn't be prouder, not despite his modest income, but because he's chosen meaningful work over lucrative work, service over salary, impact over income. That's what Sophie learned from her parents, from both families. And that's what she's bringing into this marriage. Congratulations, Sophie and Marcus. May your wealth be measured in love, not money. Applause, tears, agreement. I looked around. At the families gathered, the Chens, the Ashfords, blended, united, indistinguishable. Brandon and Maria, 3 kids, happy. Still running the homeless shelter. Uncle James, retired now, still advising the foundation, still teaching young entrepreneurs. Cousin David, still creating art through pastry, still giving his talent generously. My parents, older, slower, but still engaged, still giving, still living their values. And Christopher's family, Richard, Constance, even extended Ashfords who'd learned from the original transformation. All here, all celebrating, all proof that growth is possible. Sophie and Marcus cut their cake, danced, laughed, celebrated. No mockery, no condescension, no judgment, just love, acceptance, support, the world they deserved, the world two families had built together. After the reception, as we cleaned up, Emma found me. Can you believe how far we've come? From that country club reception to this backyard celebration, it's night and day. Not just the location, everything, the values, the priorities, the people. 22 years of transformation. 22 years of choosing growth. Do you ever regret it? The reveal, the drama? Never. It was necessary, catalytic. Without that moment, the Ashfords never would have changed. Victoria would have died without finding meaning. Richard would still be an entitled investor. Brandon would be... God, I don't even want to think about what Brandon would be. Drunk and alone, probably. Probably. But instead, they're all contributing, building, giving, making differences. Because you and Christopher brought two worlds together. We didn't plan it. We just lived authentically and let the chips fall. Best decision you ever made. Second best, marrying Christopher was first. We laughed, hugged, watched Sophie dance with her new husband. This was the real ending. Not the wedding 22 years ago, not the revelation, not even the foundation or the scholarships or the grants. This, Sophie's wedding, the next generation, carrying forward values that had been hard-won through embarrassment and growth. Character over cash, impact over income, authenticity over appearance. These weren't just slogans, they were living principles, embodied by dozens of people, passed to the next generation. And it all started because one bride chose to marry a man without telling his family she was wealthy. One decision, one revelation, one moment of truth. That changed everything. For two families, and everyone they touched. That's real wealth. That's lasting impact. That's what actually matters.